ईशुकोवाच ब्रह्मशापापदेशेन कालेनामोघ वाञ्छितः संहृत्य स्वकुलं स्फीतं त्यक्ष्यन् देहम् अचिन्तय. Why did he remain alone? That is the question inquired. The pastimes of Lord is over. Then why is it that Uddhava, Lord did not take Uddhava? Why? Why he left? Why he was left alone? That is the question asked. My dear king, the cursing of the Brahmanas was only a plea, but the actual fact was the supreme desire. So everybody left. Why they left? Because of the curse of the Brahmanas. That was only a external reason. It was only an external reason. But it was the desire of Lord himself. He wanted to disappear from the face of the earth. So in this way, it was desire of Lord. And then how he wanted to do? After dispatching his family member, after dispatching his family member, he wanted to do that. Then he would thought to himself as follows. First, his plan is, okay, let me go, let all the family members go. Then in that also, he thought, let Uddhava be here. So that what he thinks that we'll see afterwards. But this is the reason. Okay, Raksha, you read.
Yes, Mataji. Shloka 29. Shri Shuka Uvacha ब्रह्मशापापदेशेन कालेन मोघमाञ्छितः संहृत्य स्वकुलं स्वीतं त्यक्ष्यदेहम् अचिन्तयत्. Translation. Sukdev Goswami replied, My dear king, the cursing of the Brahmanas was only a plea, but the actual fact was the supreme desire of the Lord. He wanted to disappear from the face of the earth after dispatching his excessively numerous family members. He thought the word Tyaksham is very significant in relation to Lord Shri Krishna's leaving his body. Since he is the eternal form of existence, knowledge and bliss, his body and his self are identical. Therefore, how it is possible that he would leave his body and then disappear from the vision of the world? There is a great controversy among the non-devotees of Maya or Mayavadis about the mysterious disappearance of the Lord. And the doubts of those men with a poor fund of knowledge have been very elaborately cleared by Srila Jiva Goswami in his Krishna Sandarbha. According to Brahma Samhita, the Lord has many forms. It is stated therein that the Lord has innumerable forms, and when he appears with the vision of the living entities, as Lord Krishna actually appeared, all such forms amalgamate with him. Beside all these infallible forms, he has his universal form as manifested before Arjuna and the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Here in this verse, the word Uttam is also used, which indicates that he left his gigantic universal form called the Virat Roop, not his perennial eternal form, because there is hardly any possibility of his changing his form of Satchidanand. This simple understanding is at once realized by the devotees of the Lord. But those who are non-devotees, who perform hardly any devotional service to the Lord, either do not understand this simple fact or purposely raise a controversy to defeat the eternity of the transcendental body of the Lord. This is due to the defect called the cheating propensity of the imperfect living entities. By practical experience also, it is seen up to the present day that the Lord's transcendental form is worshipped by devotees in different temples, and all the devotees of the Lord actually realize that the form of the deity in the temple is not different from the form of the Lord. This inconceivable performance of the internal potency of the Lord is described in Bhagavad Gita 7.25. Naham prakasha sarvasya yoga maya samavrita. The Lord reserves the right of not being exposed to everyone. In the Padma Puran, it is said, Atha Shri Krishna Namadi na bhavet graya indriya. The name and the form of the Lord cannot be perceived by the material senses, but when he appears within the vision of the mundane people, he assumes the form of the Virat Roop. This, this is an additional material exhibition of form and in support by the logic of the subject and its adjective. In grammar, when an adjective is taken away from the subject it modified does not change. Similarly, when the Lord quits his Virat Roop, his eternal form does not change. Although there is no material difference between himself and any of his innumerable forms. In the fifth canto, it will be seen how the Lord is worshipped in different planets in his different forms, even now, and he is worshipped in different temples of his earth also. Srila Jiva Goswami and Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur have very elaborately explained these incidents of the Lord's disappearance in their commentaries, quoting various authentic version of Vedic literatures. We purposely do not include them all here to avoid an increase in the volume of this book. The entire matter is explained in Bhagavad Gita as quoted above. The Lord reserved the right of not being exposed to everyone. He always kept himself out of the vision of the non-devotees, who are devoid of Lord in devotion, and thus he puts them still further away from the Lord. The Lord the form of Vishnu amalgamate with him, and when the mission was fulfilled, all of them disintegrated from him in the usual course. Hare Krishna. General Pranav.
So Ji Goswami and Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur commentary Thakur have elaborately explained the incident of Lord's disappearance in their commentaries. So whenever Lord wants to perform like this Leela, it's every desire of Krishna. There can be no other answer than this. Yasma lokad uparate mayi jnanam madashrayam arhat uddhava arhatya uddhava evatha sampratyatmavatam vara. So I shall leave the vision of this world, this mundane world. I see that Uttama, the foremost of my devotee, is the only one who can be directly interested with the knowledge about me. So Krishna has decided, to whom should I give this knowledge? I cannot. Well, Lord is present in the form of his knowledge. Lord is present physically also. Lord is present in a very in unmanifested form also. So Lord says, I can give this knowledge to Uddhava. He is the foremost of my devotee. In this way, Lord entrusts this knowledge to Uddhava and gives. That is why the question asked was, why did Uddhava remain alone? Okay? Continue. Aruna, continue.
Hare Krishna. Text 30. Asma lokaduparate mai jnanam madashrayam arhatyuddhava evadha sampratyatmavatamvarah. Translation. Now I shall leave the vision of this mundane world, and I see that Uddhava, the foremost of my devotees, is the only one who can be directly interested with knowledge about me. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nanam Madashrayam is significant in this verse. The transcendental knowledge has three departmental divisions, namely knowledge of impersonal Brahman, knowledge of the all-pervading super soul, and the knowledge of the personality of Godhead. Out of the three, transcendental knowledge of the personality of Godhead has special significance and is known as Bhagavat Tattva Vijnana, specific knowledge of the personality of Godhead. This specific knowledge is realized by pure devotional service and no other means. Bhagavad Gita 18.55 confirms this. Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavan yachashmi tatvatah. Only persons engaged in devotional service can factually know the transcendental position of the Lord. Uddhava was considered to be the best among all devotees of that time, and therefore he was directly instructed by the Lord's grace so that people might take advantage of Uddhava's knowledge and after the disappearance of the Lord from the vision of the world. This is one of the reasons why Uddhava was advised to go to Badrikashrama, where the Lord is personally represented by the Naranarayana deity. One who is transcendently advanced can gain direct inspiration from the temple deity, and thus a devotee of the Lord always takes shelter of a recognized temple of the Lord in order to make tangible advancement in transcendental knowledge by the grace of the Lord. Hare Krishna.
नोत्थोऽनपि मन्युनो यद्गुणैर्नार्धितः प्रभुः अतो मद्वैनं लोकं गहायन् इह तिष्ठतु. Uttava is not inferior to me in any way. Krishna compares Uttava to himself. Na Uddhavaha. Anu means even slightly I don't consider him inferior. Api mat nyunaha. Nyuna means inferior. Because what is the reason? Gunaihi na ardhita is not affected by the three modes of material nature. Prabhu ataha. Therefore, Lord is saying, ataha therefore, mat vayunam, my knowledge, lokam grahayam, just to disseminate grahayam, the ignorance, iha tishtatu, sorry, grahayam is to give, disseminate, to give this knowledge, he will remain. So Krishna considers him as good as himself. Acharya mam vijaniya, nama manyeta tarhi न मर्त्या बुद्ध्या सूयेत सर्वदेवो मयो. Krishna has told in Padma Puran, Acharya mam vijaniyam. Consider acharyas as good as myself. Navamanyeta karhichit. Never disrespect them. Na martya buddhya asuyet. Na martya buddhya. Never think that na martya buddhya. With our mortal intelligence, don't try to judge them. Na martya buddhya. Also, they are not having a material body. Na martya buddhya. Asuyeta. Never have any enviousness towards them. Sarvo Devo Mayo Guru. So all the demigods, they lie at the lotus feet of the spiritual master. That is the power of the spiritual master. That is why this verse is very important. I always take bath and do the parikrama there on Gangeja, and I chant this verse in my bath. This verse I chant. Because the consciousness should be at the lotus feet of our Shiksha Guru, and should chant this verse. Never disrespect them, never consider them as ordinary, never have enviousness towards them. This will be always our secret of our growth in devotional service. Because Gangaji gives Jnanam and purity, Saraswati gives Vaishnavity gives, and Yamunaji gives pure love of Godhead. So these three prayers we should do always. Gangecha, Yamunecha, Saraswati. While taking bath, wherever you are, you can be in the train, in the bathroom of the train also. And chant this verse. Because Sarva Deva Mayavu, all the devatas, they lie at the lotus feet of the spiritual master. So the spiritual master is actually who? His father, Pita, his father, Palana Iti. In this way, what is initiation? Initiation is nothing but getting married to the spiritual master, getting married to the deities on behalf of the spiritual master. Simple. It's actually Pati, Palana Iti. He becomes our Palana Iti. The Lord becomes our Pati. Through whom? Through the spiritual master. So it's a very subtle thing. And then in this way here, Prabhupada quotes the verse, Ihayasya Haryadase Karmanam Sagira Nikla Shakti Avastasu Jivan Mukta Uchyate, within this lifetime itself. Karmana, Manasaha, Gira, you serve, what happens? You are liberated within this lifetime. Vigyanti Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dhanavad Pranam. Text 31. No dvo andapapi manyu no yad gunai nardit prabhu ato mad yunam lokam grahanyah tashtatu. Translation: Uddhava is not inferior to me in any way because he is never affected by the modes of material nature. Therefore, he may remain in this world in order to disseminate specific knowledge of the personality of Godhead. Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. The specific qualification for becoming the representative of the Lord is to be unaffected by the material modes of nature. The highest qualification of a person in the material world is to be a Brahmana. But since a Brahmana is in the mode of goodness, to be a Brahmana is not sufficient for becoming a representative of the Lord. One has to transcend the mode of goodness also and be situated in unalloyed goodness, unaffected by any of the qualities of material nature. This stage of transcendental qualification is called Suddha Sattva or Vasudeva, and in this stage, the science of God can be realized. As the Lord is not affected by the modes of material nature, so a pure devotee of the Lord is also not affected by the modes of nature. That is the primary qualification for being one with the Lord. A person who is able to attain this transcendental qualification is called Jivan Mukta or liberated. Even though he is apparently in material condition, this liberation is achieved by one who constantly engages in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. In Bhakti Rasadamayak Sindhu 1.2.187, it is stated, Iha yas harar dasye karmana manasa gira nikhil laswa api avasthasu Jivan Muktasa Uchyate. Anyone who by this action, mind and words lives only for the transcendental living service of the Lord is certainly a liberated soul, even though he may appear to be in condition of material existence. Uddhava was in such a transcendental position and thus he was selected to be the factual representative of the Lord in his bodily absence from the vision of the world. Such a devotee of the Lord is never affected by material strength, intelligence, or even pronunciation. Such a devotee of the Lord Lord can withstand all onslaughts of material nature, and therefore he is known as Goswami. Only such Goswamis can penetrate the mysteries of the Lord's transcendental loving relationship. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Next, 32 ones. Evam Trilok Purana Sandishta Shabdayonika Badariyashramamasadya Harimeche Samadhina. Sukadeva Goswami informs the king. What he informs? Thus, three loka, three words, Guruna, by the spiritual master, Sandishtaha, being perfectly taught, Shabda Yonina, by one who is a source of all Vedic knowledge, Varayashramam. In the pilgrimage site of Adhikashram, Asadhya, reaching Harim unto the Lord, Vijay, satisfied Samadhina by trance. Sukadeva Goswami informed the king that Uddhava, being thus instructed by the Lord, who is the source of all Vedic knowledge and the spiritual master of the three worlds, reached the pilgrimage of Adhikashram, engaged himself there in trance to satisfy the Lord. The question is asked by Parikshit Maharaj, Krishna to Sukadeva Goswami. Why did Lord leave Uddhava alone? But before that only, Lord has informed Uddhava that you go to Badrikashram. Thus instructed, just left to Badrikashram. So here, Lord is the Guru for the three words. That is why we say Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kansachan. Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Mande Jagat Guru. Krishna is Guru for all the Gurus. And he is a source of the knowledge. Nigama kalpataror galitam param shukamukadam samtam pipata bhagatam rasamalayam Nigama kalpataror galitam param. He is Nigama. Nigama means the source. Nigama kalpataru. He is a kalpataru, he is the source of all the Vedic knowledge. So Lord has given his instruction. He goes there and he worships the Lord with intense samadhina, with intense concentration. Harim ije. Ijya. Ijya means worshiping. Ijya. Ije also means satisfaction. You have 5 things in devotional service. You wake up, isn't it? Then you do collection of the saman. I have taught this, na? No, I taught in the initiation. I taught this. The word immediately is not correct. Upadhana. Then Ijya means worship. Then Swadhyaya. This all comes. Bhuta Shuddhi. Before that first word, I'm not able to get. That is how you wake up, you dress yourself. First word. That is how Agama or something like that. New word. Not able to recollect. So first is how you wake up. Okay. Then you dress yourself. Means you put pillars, take bath and all those things. After that, Bindu, you are remembering in this I taught. In this initiation time, I taught these 5 procedures. And then afterwards, you collect all the things. That is known as Upadhana. Then after collecting, you do Bhuta Shuddhi. This is the 3rd procedure. After the Bhuta Shuddhi, in that we say, Na ham vipro na chanarapati. Bhuta Shuddhi has to be done. You see, in the initiation thing, I would have put 5 things. First one is not coming. And the last one, that Ijya means now worship has started. After Bhuta Shuddhi, worship you do. After worship, one has to sit and do Swadhyaya. That means chant the verses, chant the holy name, all these things. So that is how here Ije Samadhi. So Harim Ije. Harim Ije means one has to worship. How? But complete concentration. Samadhi. Samyak adhite asmin atma tattva yathatma. Completely. Samyak adhyate. Adhyate means concentration. Adhyate. Asmin. Atma tattva yathatma. What is my relationship with Lord? What is my relationship? I'm servant of God. So in this way, one completely concentrates in his relationship with Lord. Okay? So that is why in trance it is written. But actually samadhina means complete concentration. Okay. Vrindavanina Mataji, you are also in trance or what? Briefly.
No, Mataji, I didn't hear. Sorry. Hare Krishna. Evam triloka gurna sandishtah shabdayonina Bhadrashramam asatya harim ije samadhina. Shukadeva Goswami informed the king that Uddhav, being thus instructed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the source of all Vedic knowledge and the spiritual master of the 3 worlds, reached the pilgrimage site of Badrikashram and engaged himself there in trance to satisfy the Lord. Purport: Lord Sri Krishna is factually the spiritual master of the 3 worlds, and he is the original source of all Vedic knowledge. It's very difficult, however, to understand the personal feature of the absolute truth, even from the Vedas. His personal instructions are needed in order to understand the personality of Godhead as a supreme absolute truth. Bhagavad Gita is the evidence of such transcendental knowledge in gist. One cannot know the Supreme Lord unless one is graced by the Lord himself. Lord Krishna exhibited this specific mercy towards Arjun and Uddhav while he was in the material world. Undoubtedly, Bhagavad Gita was spoken by the Lord on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, just to encourage Arjun to fight. And yet, to complete the transcendental knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, the Lord instructed Uddhav. The Lord wanted Uddhav to fulfill his mission and disseminate knowledge, which he had not spoken even in Bhagavad Gita. Persons who are attached to the words of the Vedas may also know from this verse that the Lord is the source of all Vedic knowledge. One who is unable to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead by going through the pages of the Vedas may take shelter of one of the Lord's devotees, such as Uddhav, in order to advance further in knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Brahma Samhita says that it is very difficult to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead from the Vedas, but he is easily understood from a pure devotee like Uddhav. Taking mercy on the great sages who lived in Badrik Ashram, the Lord authorized Uddhav to speak on his behalf. Unless one has such authorization, one cannot understand or preach the devotional service of the Lord. While present on this earth, the Lord executed many uncommon activities, even traveling in space to bring down the Parijata from heaven and recovering the son of his teacher Sandipani Muni from the regions of death. Uddhav was certainly informed of the conditions of life on other planets, and all the sages were anxious to know of them, just as we are anxious to know about the planets in space. Uddhav was particularly deputed to carry a message to Badrikashram, not only to the sages of that place of pilgrimage, but also to the Narayana deities. Such a message must have been more confidential than the knowledge described in the pages of the Vedas. The Lord is undoubtedly the source of all knowledge, and the messages dispatched through Uddhav to Narayan and other sages were also part of the Vedic knowledge, but they were more confidential and could be sent or understood only through such a pure devotee as Uddhav. Since such confidential knowledge were known only to the Lord and Uddhav, it is said that Uddhav was as good as the Lord himself. Every living entity can, like Uddhav, also become a confidential messenger on the same level as the Lord, provided he becomes confidential himself by dint of loving devotional service. Such confidential knowledge is entrusted, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, only to pure devotees like Uddhav and Arjun, and one has to learn the mystery through them and not otherwise. One cannot understand Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam without the help of such confidential devotees of the Lord. According to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, that confidential message must have concerned the mystery of his departure and the annihilation of his dynasty after the end of his appearance in the mundane world for 100 years. Everyone must have been very anxious to know about the mystery of the annihilation of the Yadu dynasty, and that message must have been explained by the Lord to Uddhav and dispatched to Badrikashram for the information of Naranarayana and other pure devotees of the Lord. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Okay. So Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says the confidential message must have concerned the mystery of his departure, annihilation of his dynasty, of these things after the end of his appearance in the mundane world for 100 years. Anugaman. Abhigaman. Sorry, Abhigaman.
Abhigamana.
Abhigaman, Upadhan, Yuka Shuddhi, Nitya Swadhyaya. Always understand this. Abhigaman. That means how you wake up and then how you collect the things for Lord. Abhigaman. That is a Gaman. What Abhigaman? Forgot that word. Abhigaman. Then Upadhan. After getting up, what you do? Say, take bath and all those things. Then you collect the things. And the pride can come. Nobody's like me. So Bhuta Shuddhi. Then comes Ijja, direct worship. And then Swadhyaya. Sitting and chanting. Gyandi Prabhu, you should remember Brahman Nishikha. In this only I have taught.
Yes, Mataji, I was also just confused with that. A some word with the A.
Remember 5 things. Abhigaman, Upadhana, Bhuta Shuddhi, Ijja, and Swadhyaya. Bade Prabhu, you should also remember. Who are all Brahman Nishikha, that they should remember. Vrindavan Mataji, you should also remember. This is most important thing. Because when we go to worship, how we wake up. From that starts Krishna consciousness. First, you always sleeping. Morning, how you get up? On your right side. While waking up, we remember Sri Prabhupada and Acharyas. And then we go and take bath. When our breath taking bath, everything should be spiritual. So our consciousness there. And then we'll come home, we apply the tilak, everything. Afterwards, some people they sit and chant, and afterwards they collect the things. Then when they collect the things, their consciousness should be always chanting the holy name. Some verses can be chanted by doing the upadhana. Upadhana means collection. But after that, you do bhuta shuddhi, Gange cha Yamune cha Saraswati. And then afterwards you put sprinkle in everything. to blow the shankha. While blowing the shankha, Naham Vipro Luchanarapati Napi Vaishyo Nashmitro, this has to be chanted compulsory. Because I am just Dasanudas, it is not my strength, it is Krishna's Anugrah. Dasanudas. And then starts the worship, Ijya. And then last is Swati. Viduropi Ittava Shutva Krishnasya Paramatmanah Kridayo Patadehasya Karmani Shlakitani Cha. Vidura Api also Ittava from the source of Uttava. Shutva, having heard Krishnasya of Lord Krishna, Paramatma of the super soul, Kridaya for the sake of pastimes in the mortal world, Upata extraordinarily accepted Dehasya of the body, Karma transcendental activities, Shlagitani most glorious jobs. So Vidura also heard from Uddhava about the appearance and disappearance of Lord Krishna, the super soul in the mortal world, which is a subject matter sought after with great perseverance by great sages. So to even know this transcendental subject matter, which is most gopani, janma karma cha me divyam, evam yogetti tattvataha, tektvadeha punarjanma, naiti mameti sodhya. To know even birth of Krishna, activities of Krishna, disappearance of Krishna. By knowing this, one attains that supreme abode. That is why this is only given to great sages actually. The most mystical knowledge, Janma Karma Cha Me Divyam. Divyam is most transcendental knowledge. And if a person knows this, Evam Yogekti Tattvataha, if a person understands this, Tyaktva Deham Punarjanma, when he leaves this world, he directly gets the abode of Lord. So to know the appearance and disappearance of Lord, it is mercy of Lord. Vidura also came to me. Vidura also got this mercy. Okay, Bindu is sleeping or what? Bindu?
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Bhagavatam is right.
Text 33. विदुरोऽपि उद्धवात् श्रुत्वा कृष्णस्य परमात्मना क्रीडया क्रीडयोपातदेहस्य कर्माणि श्लाघितानि च. Translation. Vidura also heard from Uddhava about the appearance and disappearance of Lord Krishna, the super soul, in the mortal world, which is a subject matter sought after with great perseverance by the great sages. Purport. The subject matter of the appearance and disappearance of the super soul, Lord Sri Krishna, is a mystery even for the great sages. The word Paramatmana is significant in this verse. An ordinary living being is generally called the Atma, but Lord Krishna is never an ordinary living being because he is the Paramatma, the super soul. Yet his appearance as one of the human beings and his disappearance again from the mortal world are subject matters for the research workers who execute research work with great perseverance. Such subject matters are certainly on increasing interest because have to the researchers have to search out the transcendental abode of the Lord, which he enters after finishing his pastimes in the mortal world. But even the great sages who have no information that beyond the material sky is the spiritual sky, where Sri Krishna eternally resides with his associates, although at the same time he exhibits his pastimes in the mortal world in all the universes one after another. This fact is confirmed in the Brahma Samhita 5.37. Goloka eva nivasat yakkilatma bhutah. The Lord, by his inconceivable potency, resides in his eternal abode, Goloka, yet at the same time, as the Supersoul, he is present everywhere, in both the spiritual and material skies, by his multivarieties of manifestation. Therefore, his appearance and disappearance are simultaneously going on, and no one can say definitely which of them is the beginning and which is the end.
These eternal pastimes have no beginning or end, and one has to learn of them from the pure duty only, and not waste valuable time in so called research work. Hare Krishna.
Next, 34. Dehanyasamं च tasvaimam देहन्यासं च तस्यैवं वीराणां धैर्यवर्धनम् अन्येषां दुष्करतरं पशूनां विक्लवात्मनम् atmanam. So dehanyasamं, entering the body, cha also, tasya his, evam also. Veeranam, of great sages, dhairya, perseverance, vardhanam, increasing, anyesham, of others, dushkarataram, very difficult to ascertain, pashunam, of the beasts, viklava, disturbed, atmanam, of such a mind. The Lord's glorious acts and acceptance of various transcendental forms for the performance of extraordinary pastimes in the mortal world are very difficult for anyone other than his devotees to understand. And for the beast, they are simply a mental disturbance. For beast, mental disturbance. So beasts like humans, beasts like humans. For them, Krishna's activities are mental disturbance. They don't want to hear about Lord. They are theistic people. They are beasts actually. And for devotees, very easy to understand. But for other than other people, it will be difficult to understand. So three categories have been given. One is who understands, one difficult to understand, one thinks it is a disturbance. Udados. Udados, what happened? There only Udados. So they are beast type people. They don't want to understand. There are people, they for them it is disturbance. Krishna Bhakti is disturbance. And for materialistic minded people, very difficult to understand. So there are karmis or little minded people. For them it is like very difficult. There are bhaktas and there are atheistic people, asuric people. For them it is distant. Three people have been spoken. Okay. Krishna says, Mudo yam nad janati. They're all. And then asurika, bhava. Four type of people will never understand me. Krishna has already told. We try out, that is our mistake. You can say mistake also, you can say it is our. Now I was just thinking, what will happen to ISKCON Pakistan? We have in Karachi Center also, which are their devotees. We try out, that is our problem actually. We are trying out, we have compassion. Prabhupada moment is compassion. The devotees there must be really suffering. How they must be suffering with these people. Because for them, if they want to target, they will target the devotees, isn't it? Make them suffer. Today the thought came, what will happen to the devotees of Karachi? Karachi's shooting is going on. And what will happen to the devotees? Because they want to retaliate. Where they retaliate to the devotees. So the news has not come about them. There is a devotee, Sachidananda Prabhu. I think Bindu Mataji can call him and ask how is his health, everything. Stop to him. Very wonderful devotee, Sachidananda Prabhu from Pakistan, was my student. He has done his Bhakti Shastra. So Bindu Mataji, please call him.
Yes, yeah, I'll contact him.
Yeah. So now, who will read? Aruna read. 34.
Text 34. Deham nyasam cha tasyaivam dhīrāṇāṃ dhairyavardhanam anyesham dushkarataram pashūnāṃ viklavatmanam. Translation: The Lord's glorious acts and his acceptance of various transcendental forms for the performance of extraordinary pastimes in the mortal world are very difficult for any one other than his devotees to understand. And for the beasts, they are simply a mental disturbance. Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The transcendental forms and the pastimes of the Lord, as described in Bhagavad Gita, are difficult subject matters for those who are not devotees to understand. The Lord never reveals himself to persons like the jnanis and yogis, and there are others who, because of their envying the Lord from the bottom of their hearts, are classified amongst the beasts, and for such envious beasts, the subject matter of the Lord's appearance and disappearance is simply a mental disturbance, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 7.15. The miscreants who are simply concerned with material enjoyment, who work very hard like beasts of burden, can hardly know the personality of Godhead at any stage due to asurika bhava, or a spirit of revolt against the Supreme Lord. The transcendental body expansions manifested by the Lord for his pastimes in the material world, and the appearance and disappearance of such transcendental expansions are difficult subject matters, and those who are not devotees are advised not to discuss the Lord's appearance and disappearance, lest they may commit further offenses at the lotus feet of the Lord. The more they discuss the transcendental appearance and disappearance of the Lord in the Asuric spirit, the more they enter into the darkest region of hell, as stated in Bhagavad Gita 16.20. Anyone who is against the transcendental loving service of the Lord is more or less a beastly creature, as confirmed in this verse of Srimad Bhagavatam. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Okay, 35th one. Atmanam chaku shrestha Krishnera manaseikshitam Ayat dhyayan gate bhagavate Bodha prema bhutvalam Atmanam chakuru shrestha, himself also Kuru Shrestha, best among the Kurus, Krishnena by Krishna, Manasaha by the mind, Ikshitam remembered, Dhyayan thus thinking of, Gate having gone, Bhagavate of the devotee, Rurodha cried loudly, Prema Vibhala overwhelmed by the ecstasy of love. So understanding that he was remembered by Lord Krishna while quitting this world, Vidura began to cry loudly, overwhelmed by the ecstasy of love. So Uddhava told that Lord remembered you. Started crying. It's a favor actually. Lord remembered means it's a favor. So Vidura was in ecstasy when he understood that Lord Krishna remembered him. And Vidura is a great devotee. When Yudhishthira Maharaj sees Vidura when he comes back, he says, Tirthi kurvanti tirthan. Your heart itself, your consciousness, your body itself is tirtha. Why you have to go? Bhavad vida bhagavatas. Tirthi bhuta swayam vipur. Tirthi kurvanti tirthani. Swantastena gadabhutaha. Very beautiful verse it is. Bhavad vida bhagavatas. Oh Lord Bhavad. Bhavad means yourself. You yourself are a great bhakta. Tirtha bhuta swayam vibho. You are yourself a tirtha. Tirthi kurvanti tirthani. Why you have to go anywhere? Actually, pure devotees themselves are tirthas. So when pure devotees seva comes, understand, you are in the tirtha. When you get the opportunity to serve your devotees, it is as good as you are in the tirtha. Swantastena gadavrataha. Swantastena, that means Lord is situated in your heart. Swantastena gadavrata. Gadavrata is Krishna himself. Okay. So here Krishna remembered Vidura. Vidura is crying, oh Lord, remember me. Just imagine if Prime Minister remembers you. You think, oh, Modi remembered me. Yes, Supreme Personality of Godhead remember Vidura. Why you will not cry? Okay, Gyandi Prabhu, please read.
Yes, Mataji. Text 35. Atmanam cha kushrestha Krishnen manasekchitam Dayan gate bhagavate Rurod prema vihala. Translation: understanding that he was remembered by Lord Krishna While quitting this world, Vidura began to cry loudly, overwhelmed by the ecstasy of love. Purport by Srila Prabhupada, Sri Prabhupada ki Jai. Vidura was overwhelmed by the ecstasy of love when he understood that Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, thought of him at the last moment. Although he thought of himself as insignificant, he was remembered by the Lord, by his causeless mercy. Vidura accepted this as great favor, and thus he cried. This crying is the last word in the progressive path of devotional service. One who can cry for the Lord in love is certainly successful in the line of devotional service. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
कालिन्द्या कतिभिः सिद्ध अहोभिर्भरतर्षभा प्रापद्यत स्वसरितं यत्र मित्रासुतो मुनिः. Wait. Kalindya on the bank, all are discussing about now where kya udaya. Kalindya on the bank of Yamuna, Kativi, a few Siddhe, being so past, Ahobi, days, Bharatar Shabha, O best of the Bharat dynasty, Prapadyata, reached Swa Saritam, the celestial water of the Ganges, Yatra where Mitra Sutaha, the son of Mitra, Muni sage. After passing a few days on the bank of river Yamuna, Vidura, the self-realized soul, reaches the bank of Ganga where the sage Maitreya was situated. Where he had gone? Dwarka, isn't it? From Dwarka, he came to bank of Yamuna. And then afterwards, he went where? To Ganga. Haridwar. That means to Vrindavan, Vrindavan to Haridwar. That is how Vidura is always doing Brahman. In this way, he did the Brahman. Then he reaches Yudhishthir Maharaj and gives all the information. So this is what happens during the Brahman, what happened during the Brahman. That is being, because in short it was given in the previous. I think, right, I am right? Wrong. I think I am right, because the war was happening. After the war, Yudhishthir Maharaj, Dhritarashtra, he says to Dhritarashtra, you go now. I think after that again the Brahman is said. This is the next Brahman. Because at that time Krishna is present. Now in this Brahman he understands Krishna has left. So this is the next Brahman. Because everybody left. Now Vidura also goes along with them. Yes.
माताजी जब भी धृतराज जी भी चले गए और
पंच पांडव भी गए.
हाँ, तभी उसके बाद का भ्रमण है ना.
उसके बाद का.
Yes.
Okay. So last was Raksha read. This will end the topic here.
हाँ माताजी. श्लोका 36. कालिंद्या कतिभिः सिद्ध अहोभिः भरतर्षभ प्रापद्य स्वसरितं यत्र मित्रासुतो मुनिः. Translation. After passing a few days on the bank of the river Yamuna, Vidura, the self-realized soul, reached the bank of the Ganga, where the great sage Maitreya Muni was situated. Thus the end, the Bhaktivedanta purport of the third canto, fourth chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Vidura Approaches Maitreya. Hare Krishna.
Okay. So Vidura talks with Maitreya. Should we start a little bit? We can start some verses. Shri Shuka Uvacha Dari Dyundya Rushavah Karuna Maitreya Masinam Agada Bodham Shaktopasrutyachyutabhavasiddhah Papracha Saushilyaguna Bhiptruptah. Shri Shukavacha, Sukadeva Goswami says, Dwari at the source of Dyudadhyaha, river Ganges. Rishabha, the best of the Kurus, Kurunam of the Kuru, Maitreyam, unto Maitreya, Asinam, sitting, Agatha Bodham, of unfathomed knowledge, Shata, Vidura. Upasrutyaha, having approached nearer Achyutaha, the infallible Lord, Bhava character, Siddha, perfect, Praprachaha, inquired, Saushilyaha, gentleness, Guna Abhi satisfied in transcendental qualities. Sukadeva Goswami says that Vidura, who is perfect in devotional service, is the best of the Kuru dynasty. Rishabha Kuruna is the best of the Kuru dynasty. He reached the source of Ganga, that is Haridwar, where Maitreya, the great fathomless great sage, learned sage, was seated. Vidura was very gentle and satisfied in transcendental transcendence. He approached to him, inquired to him. So this is again how to inquire to the spiritual master. One has to be gentle in his behavior. Okay, satisfied also. Vrindavanila Mataji, read.
Hare Krishna. Shri Shukla Uvacha Dwari Divnatyarshava Karunam Maitreyam Asinam Agada Bodham Shatkro Pashatya Chita Bhava Siddha Papricha Stoshilya Guna Abhitriptaha. Shukadeva Goswami said, Vidura, the best among the Kuru dynasty, who was perfect in devotional service to the Lord, thus reached the source of the celestial Ganges river, Haridwar, where Maitreya, the great, fathomless, learned sage of the world, was seated. Vidur, who was perfect in gentleness and satisfied in transcendence, inquired from him. Vidur was already perfect due to his unalloyed devotion to the infallible Lord. The Lord and the living entities are all qualitatively the same by nature, but the Lord is quantitatively much greater than any individual living entity. He is ever infallible, whereas the living entities are prone to fall under the illusory energy. Vidur had already surpassed the fallible nature of the living entity in conditioned life due to his being Achyuta Bhava, or legitimately absorbed in the devotional service of the Lord. This stage of life is called Achyuta Bhava Siddha, or perfection by dint of devotional service. Anyone, therefore, who is absorbed in the devotional service of the Lord is a liberated soul and has all admirable qualities. The learned sage Maitreya was sitting in a solitary place on the bank of the Ganges at Haridwar, and Vidur, who was a perfect devotee of the Lord and possessed all good transcendental qualities, approached him for inquiry. Hare Krishna.
Viduruvacha Sukhaya Karmani Karoti Loko Natai Sukham Vanyad Paramam Vindeta Bhuyastata Eva Dukkam Yadatra Yuktam Bhagavan Vadennaha. Vidura said, Sukhaya Karmani, for attaining happiness, Karmani, fruitive activities, Karoti, everyone does so. Lokaha, in this world, Na Tahi Sukham, but they don't get happiness. Va, Anya differently, Uparamam, satiation, neither they are satisfied. Vindeta achieves Bhuyaha, on the contrary, Tataha Evaha Dukkham, by such activities, he only experiences misery. So, under the circumstances, Yuktam, right course, Bhagavan, O great one, Padeta may kindly inform us. Tell us. So, Vidura is asking to Maitreya. Everyone in this world is performing activity, fruitive activity, to get happiness. But what happens? Neither he is happy nor he is satisfied. On the contrary, he is aggrieved by such activities. So please direct us, how should one live for real happiness? Just see, Vidura, exalted devotee. Why is he asking question? For him or for us? For that is why the questions asked by the sages benefits everyone. That is what even in the first chapter, when the second chapter of Bhagavatam, first canto, the question of yours itself, by Misharanya Rishi, Sutta Goswami says, your very question itself is satisfying everyone. Okay, it is for the benefit of everyone. You can read. Aruna, read. So we'll stop the
Text 2.
topic here.
Vidura uvacha Sukhaya karmani karoti loko natai sukam vanyaduparamam va vindeta bhuyastata eva dukkham yadatra yuktam bhagavan vadennaha. Translation: Vidura said, O great sage, everyone in this world engages in fruitive activities to attain happiness, but one finds neither satiation nor the mitigation of distress. On the contrary, one is only aggrieved by such activities. Please, therefore, give us directions on how one should live for real happiness. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Vidura asked Maitreya some common questions, which was not originally his intention. Uddhava asked Vidura to approach Maitreya Muni and inquire into all the truths concerning the Lord, his name, fame, quality, form, pastimes, entourage, etc. And thus, when Vidura approached Maitreya, he should have asked only about the Lord, but out of natural humility, he did not immediately ask about the Lord, but inquired into a subject which would be of great importance to the common man. A common man cannot understand the Lord. He must first know the real position of his life under the influence of the illusory energy. In illusion, one thinks that he can be only by fruitive activity. One becomes more and more entangled in the network of action and reaction and does not find any solution to the problem of life. There is a nice song in this connection. Because of a great desire to have all happiness in life, I built this house. But unfortunately, the whole scheme has turned to ashes because the house was unexpectedly set on fire. The law of nature is like that. Everyone tries to become happy by planning in the material world, but the law of nature is so cruel that it sets fire on one's schemes. The fruitive worker is not happy in his schemes, nor is there any satiation of his continuous hankering for happiness. Hare Krishna.
So stop here. Hare Krishna. So tomorrow is Rukmini Dwadashi, very wonderful day. So actually we don't fast that time, we break the fast. Rukmini Mata is very merciful. So we will have class on Narsimha only, we will be continuing the same. Panchakritam Desha Prasindu Devacha Patitanam Pavane Vaishnavi Punyam Vaishnavi